With season 3 on the horizon, it's time to look back at the most toxic, misunderstood, and psychologically dense relationship in Euphoria. Jules Swan, a transgender woman born as a biological man, and Nate Jacobs. But to talk about Nate and Jules, we first have to talk about Tyler. In the first season, Jules begins talking to a boy named Tyler on a queer dating app. To Jules, Tyler was the perfect man, sensitive, vulnerable, and deeply romantic. He was the first person she felt she could truly be herself with. But Tyler didn't exist. He was just a ghost created by Nate Jacobs. Nate didn't just catfish Jules for fun, it was a calculated tactical strike. Jules had unknowingly slept with Nate's father, Cal, and Nate discovered the sex tape. To protect his family's reputation and get Jules in line, Nate created Tyler to lure her into sending explicit photos, blackmail material he could use to keep her silent. But in the process, he got close to her unintentionally. The debate usually falls into three camps. Did Nate love her? Was he simply obsessed? Or was she just a pawn to protect his father's reputation from a potential case involving a minor? While Jules' side is clear, she fell in love with a ghost named Tyler and feels nothing but a deep-seated lack of trust for the sociopathic man behind the screen. Nate's side is a labyrinth of repression. When Jules tells him,
I don't trust you, Nate,
and calls him exactly what he fears he is,
I think you're a fucking faggot just like your daddy.
a mirror of his father. She shatters the illusion and throws him right back into his toxic ways of handling things. But to understand why Nate kept trying to glue those pieces back together, even in that final season 2 scene where he returns the disc, we have to look at the checklist that governs his life.
He liked tennis skirts and jean cutoffs, but not the kind so short you could see the pockets. He liked ballet flats and heels. He hated sneakers and dress shoes, but was fine with sandals as long as they were worn with a fresh pedicure. He liked thigh gaps, hated kinkles. He liked tan lines, long necks, slender shoulders. He liked good posture and fruit-scented body mist. He liked full lips and small noses. He liked chokers, but the lacy ones with flower cutouts or delicate patterns. He hated girls who sat like boys, talked like boys, acted like boys. But there was nothing on planet Earth he hated more than body hair.
Nate Jacobs is a boy who became a man too early. Not out of maturity, but out of necessity. Finding his father's sex tape at a young age didn't just disgust him, it radicalized his view of the world. He saw that his reputable family image was a lie, and he took it upon himself to be the protector of that facade. To Nate, normalcy is a weapon. He lives by a rigid checklist of hyper-femininity, hyper-masculinity, and societal norms. He saw anything outside that law as something to be looked down upon. But then he meets Jules. On paper, Jules shouldn't fit. She is the antithesis of the traditional world Nate protects, as Jules is a transgender woman. Yet, she fits his checklist of a perfect woman to a T. This is where the mission becomes a personal crisis. What started as a game to get her in line to protect Kyle turned into something Nate wasn't prepared for. Genuine curiosity. In the process of catfishing her, Jules accidentally became Tyler's safe space. Behind the screen, Nate didn't have to be the family protector or the alpha athlete. For a moment, he could explore the parts of himself his father's tapes made him hate. But Nate is a child of complex trauma. He doesn't know how to bridge the gap between his vulnerability and his reality. When he reveals himself in the park, he already has the blackmail material. He doesn't need to be soft, but he tries to be. And when Jules stays defensive, his vulnerability quickly turns into abuse. He is like an underdeveloped child of trauma, lashing out when he doesn't get the safety he thinks he's earned. It isn't love. You don't put the person you love through a psychological horror film. It's an obsession with what she represents. She lives her truth out loud, while Nate lives for the society that he secretly loathes. He wants to consume her, not because he wants a girlfriend, but because he thinks she can teach him how to be free from his own cage. To understand Nate's obsession with Jules, we have to look at how he treats the other women in his life. Maddie was the correct choice. She fit the checklist. He felt protective of her, but Maddie had a mind of her own. When she started questioning if he was into men or finding his father's tapes, she became a hurdle. And he was too immature to deal with her properly, so he discarded her. Cassie, on the other hand, is a target of convenience. She is broken and alone, the perfect target for his manipulation. She fits the traditional look, but unlike Maddie or Jules, Nate has zero emotional investment in her. She is treated like an object in a plan, ignored even when she's right in front of him. Jules is different. She is the catalyst. Whether Nate is straight and confuses admiration with attraction, or whether he is actually trans and sees Jules as the version of himself he's not allowed to be. She is the only person who forces him to look in the mirror. His obsession isn't love, it's the desire to be her, or at least to be as confident as her. Jules might seem like a manic pixie dream girl to Nate, but she is on her own journey of self discovery. In her monologue, we learn she is trying to conquer femininity, fitting a societal norm from an untraditional standpoint of being a trans woman. They are two sides of the same coin. Both are performing, both are exhausted. They found their only safe space in a text only world where the performances could stop. Jules gives him the benefit of doubt, but she knows she cannot save him, while she is still fighting her own demons. Her childhood trauma, her transition, and her mother's alcoholism. Nate gives her the disc as a final plea to be seen as Tyler again. But for Jules, the truth of his actions will always outweigh the truth of his words. In the end, Nate doesn't want to be with Jules. He wants to be as free as Jules. In a way, Nate sees himself and Jules as a victim of Cal, his dad. He has destroyed both of their lives in Nate's worldview. However, we have to address the elephant in the room. Season 2 largely failed to dive deeper into this dynamic. After the explosive build-up of Season 1, the Jules and Nate tension was sidelined in favor of the Cassie, Maddie, Nate love triangle. While the show us Nate's traditional toxicity, it ignored the most interesting psychological puzzle the show ever created. By keeping them apart for most of the season, the show left their complex mirror relationship in a state of arrested development. As we head into Season 3, the expectations are high. With the rumored time jump, we expect a more mature, perhaps more honest confrontation. Will Nate finally admit that his obsession was never about the tape, but about his own identity? Will Jules finally confront the man who catfished her, not as a victim, but as the only person who truly sees through his mask. Season 3 needs to stop using Jules as a background shadow in Nate's story and finally let these two sides of the same coin face the truth. Because in the end, Nate doesn't want to be with Jules. He wants to be as free as Jules. And that is the only story left worth telling.